1 year ends and almost immediately the next year begins for cutting horse trainers, it seems like.
Yep.
You showed Boone Sam Baby 10 years ago. And if we rewind just a few days, you showed her offspring in the finals at this year's Futurity.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, like, what did that feel like? What did that mean to you? You know, I want to go back to the beginning of the year and we'll talk about the baby and we'll talk about Ruth, but
yeah,
that was pretty special. And I just want to start there.
Yeah.
What did that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's so special because, you know, Boone Sam Baby was the first horse I ever made the Futurity finals on. The emotion you feel when that semi's buzzer goes off and you see that score pop up is like just life goal reached, because prior to making your first Futurity finals, you don't even know if you can. You know, you don't, some people train horses their whole life and never do. You know, it's got a 3% chance from being entered to actually making that, and then to do it on a horse that you started from scratch and trained the whole way, just hoping that your training style and that your showmanship style would be enough to make it on that top level. So, you know, that mare was super special to me. And then of course the baby is her first baby by Metallic Cat. Mm-hmm. So that kind of connects the Rockin' W Ranch was the first part of my career, and then the Rockin' P Ranch has been the second part of my career, and that horse is both. It's both Alice and Bobby's dream and their dream of what a cutting horse should be rolled into one animal. But when you can do it on one that, you know, the mom was everything to you. You know, you were the only trainer that mare ever had. And then to break this colt in 2 years ago, I guess today I would have broke him in. And, you know, you just like we were talking about today, like I feel like that first ride, I learned so much about the horse's intelligence, their strength, their athleticism, the way they're gonna think, the way they're gonna be tough. You know, it just tells you so much about that horse. And I guess from that first ride, I knew the baby was enough horse. You know, I knew I had one of the better horses, you know, in the world that could potentially, like, let's say there's 50 horses born a year that are, you know, possible, you know, well, there's at least 72 because they all made the semis, but
right,
that are possible, and I knew he was one of them.
What stood out though? Like, what was it about him?
You know, probably just the way he moved, a combo of the way he moved and the way he thought as I introduced new ideas to him. And then, you know, you also learn what their shortcomings are. He wanted to move without thought, you know, and his mom was the same way. But the advantage you have when you know that from the first ride, that okay, for the next 2 years, I'm going to spend teaching this horse to think as he moves. He moves spectacular, but he will move twice before the brain registers that he has. That makes him magnificent as long as that's controlled, you know. Him being raised here at this, in Bobby's program and everything like that is cool for the owner. You know, it's really neat.
If you could put it into words, like, what was the mindset as a 23-year-old Jesse Lennox, and then everything that you've learned up until now, what was your approach going in?
Yeah, well, the mindset, you know, that first Futurity, which was my third Futurity, the first Futurity making it, you know, my mindset was very focused on keep my job. So you're driving into town, you feel like all that's hanging in the balance, and this is my product. And if my product looks special to the world, those two horses I showed that year, then I'll always be employed, because that's something that doesn't matter what job you change or whatever, that's something you're gonna build every year for somebody, you know? And if that's desirable by those 5 guys sitting up there in the judge's box, then it's desirable to everyone. And then that gives legitimacy for, you know, what it is you've spent your life doing. Because when you go down this road, it takes so much time and effort. You don't go down any, like, there is no plan B. You know, it was be cutting horse trainer, be a homeless guy on the side of the road.
Yeah.
The education is equal. Because, if you show up looking for a job at a gas station and you tell people that, you got 15 years work experience guessing which cow's gonna run 60 feet and stop, they're gonna be like, well, congratulations, but what the hell's that do for me pumping gas? So, you got all that going, and that can be a rush. That can really be thrilling. And I think I got addicted to that thrill at a young age, because I started training horses right away.
Yeah.
And I love crossing the timeline feeling like this is what I'm about to do is going to keep a roof over my head, and then when runs don't work out, you're like, oh, maybe we'll keep a smaller roof over our head. I just try to tell myself that this is my dream, and I'm going to enjoy the shit out of this 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And I'm not worried about if I get another 2 minutes and 30 seconds tomorrow. I just want to enjoy the present moment, and I feel like that really helps me get into the right frame of mind. I remember walking down there to dry work my first ever fraternity semifinals horse, and I felt like my legs were exhausted. And when I got onto the horse, I was like, oh, I can't even push the rib cage around. And I just remember trying to take a deep breath and go fuck it. This is my dream. I've wanted this since the first time I ever watched fraternity film. I think I was 10 years old. My uncle brought a VHS when he came for Christmas of Kathy Dawn winning it on Royal Fletch, and I was like, I fucking want to be there.
Royal Fletch is by the great horse, J-Bar Fletch, who was a world champion open horse and a world champion non-pro.
We're in the semis, so we bought the right horse. We bred the right horse. We trained the right horse. We made the right decisions. We're showing him in the right bridle. So now it's time for enjoyment.
So there's so many variables in this game. It does take skill, and we touched on this in an earlier episode, but why cutting? You had this passion for this game. Why cutting over anything else that you can do?
Well, I guess because it's a sport. As a kid, I played a lot of hockey, and I wasn't in that level of gonna make it, and I was obsessed and addicted to that. And so the cool thing about cutting, I was also obsessed with horses and horsemanship and colt starting, and the cool thing about cutting was it allowed me to play a sport, and I don't have to be the athlete that of the 1%, because I'm riding the athlete that is the 1%, but I still get a lot of practice with quick decisions, and it's all, you have to guide the horse into that run and everything. So it's for me, it's playing on that level of any sport would have been a thrill. I was way more talented with a horse than I was with a hockey stick. Had I had that ability with a hockey stick to make it do what a horse can do, well then that's, would have pursued that. But it was looking like I was going to get to the homeless stage of my life a lot quicker pursuing hockey. I love every piece of it. I love what we were doing today, breaking colts, and I never want to not do that. And then I love the 2-year-old year, and I love the 3-year-old year, and I love pre-works, and I love keeping show horses clean, and I love, instructing Rachel while she wins, and I love watching cows. I love walking from the cow box down to the turnback horse. It's just an obsession with every step of the stage, every stage of the game. It's just, this game has so much to offer.
So you mentioned Ruth. You got her at the Western Bloodstock sale last year as a 2-year-old.
Yep.
At what point so for both of them, the baby and Ruth, when did you think that they were special once you had them in your program? I know the baby was here, but once you had them in your show string working every day,
Yeah.
When did it click with you that they were special?
I feel like probably the first time I ever rode Ruth, I couldn't tell if she was a great horse. I could tell the horse training job was phenomenal. So it took me, I was more skeptical because I wanted to feel it stay. But like when we went to Colorado, that first cow out in that big outdoor round pen, and first time the horse has ever been worked on a cow, and a cow came in, and from a mile away, it was like a radar beam. And you could just feel this horse's insides go, like she needed to pick that cow up way out there, and then she just proceeded to get it on. And it was like, wow, I insane that any year I would want to show this horse.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I wish I could get her a fake ID and show her next year. I got a cousin that does those, so. I hit him up. He also didn't make it in the NHL.
What about the baby?
The baby, for me, I guess, with me, it was an earlier pickup. First day I broke him in, and then I did find that one thing that I knew I would spend all year working on. And when we went to Grant Setnick's pre-work, was probably, he felt very mature. Very mature.
When would that have been?
That was about 3 weeks out.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe 2 weeks out. And he felt like a very no-brainer. Felt like I could put him in any position and get myself out of any bind. Because, the hard thing about the futurity is if it all goes well, you're going to work 12 cows. Pretty hard to have all 12 be good cows.
Right.
So at some point, you're going to need that horse to bail you out.
Right.
With intelligence.
At any time throughout their 3-year-old year, was there a struggle? Or maybe some doubt that creeped in, like, oh shit.
Yeah, well, you probably know that better than anybody because you were here most of the 3-year-old year turning back. There's always, I would say for sure with the baby, when he was really struggling with moving and not thinking. And then Ruth, her size, it took a while. We have a great feed program with Total Feeds, and we really went to try to bulking her up, and she did get stronger, because she was a little on the smaller side when we got her. So that for sure would have been her struggle. I don't think there was ever a horse training struggle we had with her. Keeping her picked up because she wanted to crawl so much is a nice problem, a nice thing to wake up every day and work on. The baby, there was some definite thought times where we were like, oh boy, we need to drive off. Okay, now we need to do this to get that right. But once we turned the rock over, I felt like it never turned back the other way. And I think the other horse needs work down, whereas this mare I think feels pretty there. Take her in low, both her and the baby, and then tomorrow I'll practice pen again. Cause I just, yeah, thinking for both. I think it's as bad to over prepare as it is to under prepare.
Talk about the crew that you have here with Logan, Maya, Erica, and just what that does for your own sanity and mindset.
Yeah, no, we truly got the best crew, and it's the most strong crew that I've ever had the privilege of working with in 15 years of doing this. And with Logan, Erica, Maya, Edgar, Dylan, that it's just a really strong group of people around you that just make sure everything, they really put me in a position where the only thing I have to worry about is what I have to worry about, and for them to do that 27 days straight, I think we didn't take a day off for 10 days before the show, so they worked 37 days straight, and as you know, most mornings were 4 in the morning, and lots of times they're not getting home till late, they're doing therapy. We had 12 horses showing, 8 showed in the open, the non-pro, the amateur, everything, they're going all the time. So it's so important. And then you and Travis coming and turning back all the time so that, I'm not having to worry about having to teach anybody how to bump the cow, because it is distracting if you're having to tell the turnback people if they're new and don't know how you want it, and, and it is show boarded pressure is like everybody just do everything perfect and then I will still shit myself.
I think you do a good job of recognizing that.
Yeah.
And acknowledging it.
Well, and
doing your best to overcome it.
Yeah, and it helps to know that horses and cattle have never worked good with negative energy. They read it, that's how they communicate to one another. So that's the only thing they can read. I can talk to them all day, that doesn't make any sense. But if my mood changes, every cow in the arena knows it, and every horse in the arena knows it, and it's not gonna get me anywhere. Right. So that helps me keep that chilled out, laid back deal.
Yeah, so true. It's so interesting, like a great run and a disaster is just milliseconds or just millimeters apart.
Yeah.
It seems like.
Uh-huh.
How do you find the balance between showing off what your horse can do?
Yeah.
And being smart?
Well, and that kind of bringing up this year, at the, I try to remind myself and remind my help that before the finals, I always say like, these are the cows I like, and if something more scary presents itself, don't let me bitch out, especially if we're having a run. And if I look at the BI this year, be the show we did win, is the circumstances presented themselves for us to have that win. And so then we took full advantage, and then at the futurity, first cow, I feel like I'm right in there. Second cow, the cut, I feel like I'm right in there. Oh shoot, this cow played out a little. Well, rather than mash the gas when I have nothing pulling me, and risk taking a miss, which would knock us from a 20 to a 17, just mark all we can and then come with the third cow and finish like we're trying to win something again. Right. Because this sport's very, you can only push as hard as the cow's stopping you, because you're creating the motion and the cow's pulling you up. So, if the cow trickles, then you can't hit that big stop, and it's very important to read that. And I'd say, the guys that are really good at winning, Wesley Gallion, Don, Lloyd, Austin, James Payne, all these greats, they're really reading the cow on whether or not this is a sendable situation or not. Mm-hmm. And I think at my first futurity, just out of greenness, I don't have that information. I don't have that knowledge yet.
So for folks that don't know, the futurity, these horses are 3 years old, never been shown before, never been down the pen at Will Rogers. It's the very first time. So what these trainers do is they go to a pre-work, they simulate a show situation and address whatever needs to be addressed. So what, during the pre-works, this fall leading up to the futurity, what were the concerns? Friend, you can take each individual, Ruth and the baby.
Yep.
What were the concerns? What were you working on to get them show ready?
Yeah, so pre-works are the most fun time of the year because you're really finding out what you have. You've trained them all year, but more importantly than that, you're trying to assess how do I work this horse to get the most out of it. Do I drive off on a cow? Do I have turn back help come bump me around? Do I work out of the corner? Do I work flat? And you're constantly just turning the dials on each horse. And so we go to our first pre-work, which is Waco for us, and the baby's awesome, feels dialed right in, and Ruth is terrible. And 2 days prior, Hayden Upton had come over and Travis, and we worked 3-year-olds, and Ruth was the best one. So that told me right there, okay, in 48 hours, you changed something, and this mare didn't like it. So now I'm learning her, and then the baby was down the string, I think 4th that day that Hayden had come over. And in 2 days between the pre-work, I moved him to number 1. So what I did in those 2 works was what he needs, and so you're constantly playing with those dials. And if we go through our pre-works, each pre-work should be better. We always video them all so that I can come back and watch, and getting good film on your horses is critical because it may not feel how it's looking, and it only needs to look right. And so we get that feedback, and then 2, you're working with great trainers you respect. I go to all the same pre-works as Hayden. I go to all the same pre-works as Cullen Chartier. It's another very important person to give me the input on my horses. I go to pre-works with Adon and Grant and Lee, and Michael Cooper, and those are kind of my core group of people that I trust and my coaches, so to speak. And they'll give me little things like, maybe try this with this horse, maybe try that. And as well as me knowing how I've prepared them once, so then I come home a week later, we go to another pre-work, and I've prepared in a brand new way, you know? And the closer I got to the futurity, the more often I felt like the baby and Ruth were starting to hit the nail on the head. And I got to a comfortable spot where we weren't really wondering how we should work before futurity. You were here for a lot of those works, and it would be like relatively simple, but we'd be like, okay, well, we need to go work this one in the morning, then we need to hit the practice pen because that's just the way this horse's mind works. And we need to, drop back to a snaffle with Ruth because if she cuts too much, she'll get a little stuck down here.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of the game is first train the horse, go into pre-works, your horse is trained, now find how to peak them. How to peak them without peaking them prior to show day.
Right, I thought it was beautiful how you did all of that. Is there anything you would change in hindsight? Maybe better prepare?
Yeah.
It's hard to even say that because the baby marks a 19 and the Ruth, I think, marks a 15 on her first go only because you had a little tangled cut. Yeah.
Yep.
But is there anything you would change in hindsight?
I felt like this futurity, which, you know, I don't know if it's my 13th futurity or I guess it would be my 13th futurity. I would say this is the most comfortable I've ever felt preparing horses, you know, and when a problem arose, didn't matter if it was an amateur horse or an open horse, I felt very confident I knew where I needed to go and what we needed to do to fix it. But I think that just comes from experience, and that's why, you know, it takes a while to hit your peak in this sport, and this sport has a good shelf life because of that. I felt good about how the baby was prepared as far as the first run. The score was what I wanted. I thought Ruth was even better prepared. I just kind of messed up a cut, which can happen. She bailed me out of it, and then away we went to the next go, and I felt like each run, your hope is that each run your horse looks, you know, increasingly fancy as you build your horse to the finals, because your hopes is that your finals run will be your biggest run.
Going into the finals, you mark I think you were in the third set and the sixth set. First horse you showed was Ruth.
Yep.
And you mark a 2:17.5, and you still have to show the baby. And I
Yep.
know you're big on the bounce back process.
Yeah.
Talk about that, man, because what you went on to do to get yourself into the finals with the baby, it took some mental toughness.
Yeah.
And what's going through your brain? You see the score pop up. Walk me through that, what you're feeling in that moment.
Yeah, so when I see that score, you know, I really truly believe that Ruth had a shot at winning that cut, and so when you see the score pop up and you know it's not enough, like I knew from the math I'd done that 17.5 is going to be a point shy of what I need, and I know that I was the cause of that. You know, I bailed off my second cow a little early, thinking they were going to 19 it, and that was a pilot error. And those are the hardest to bounce back from, because a horse can take you out, a cow can take you out, and you're like, that's the sport. I knew it when I entered. I'm not in control of this animal, I'm not in control of that animal, but I am supposed to be in control of this animal. And so when I'm the cause of the deal, that's what hurts the most. And so when I saw that, I was obviously, if you're competitive and you want to win, it like burns a little. But I always try to think about, like, what will Paul Hansman do? You know, that's the toughest guy I know is Paul Hansman. And when he goes out of a cutting, you'll see him in the cow box the next set, and he'll be just as jokey, just as fun to be around. You know, he's mad. You know, he's a competitive person. He doesn't want to be out, but he doesn't let it mess with him. You know, he's truly captured mental toughness. And so what I try to tell myself when I'm getting off my horse and I've seen the score is, I'm like, well, it's a good time to try to not be a little bitch, you know, and then always in my heart is like, oh, but you're just such a little bitch, you know, like you just want to curl up in a ball and be like, poor me, I didn't do good. And that can only cause a spiral, snowball effect that would cause the next run to be derailed. We're not out of the cutting. You know, and even if we are, let's say Ruth was my only one and now I'm out, well now my shift's gotta focus I gotta help my friends succeed, you know, and it's not about me. And I done squandered my chance, I'll wait till next year. Is I try to convince myself that I love doing poorly for the opportunity to bounce back, because now I have a chance to work on my bounce back statistic, and I'm gonna let that run go, and I'm gonna learn from that run. And when I showed the baby, there was no way I was getting off a cow early. Like I was gonna get run over before I quit a cow early, because the big difference that I've seen in the futurity in the last 10 years is it used to be a 216 would make it. So you're just trying to have a clean run. Well, now all these guys are showing like they're trying to get a top 10 check. You have Ryan Rapp, but held the toughest cow I've ever seen held, his second cow. It was insane. And he just kicked it, you know, just going for it and marks a 227. And I watched that run and I was like, you know, that wasn't my mentality when I crossed the timeline with Ruth. My mentality was my horse is so special, I'm in if I don't fall. It's not a good place to show a horse from. So when I walked down there on the baby, I was like, no, I'm gonna show him how hard I've been working all year, you know, and I'm gonna trust it, and I'm gonna show him what a good cow picker I am. These cows aren't gonna run me over because I'm a good cow picker. And you might as well just believe that, because if you get run over, you can't stop it anyway, you know? So we just go down, that's a ship I wanna go down on, you know? What I don't wanna go down on, and what was so tragic for me this futurity was going down on bitching out, you know, and so, but let that build you up for your next run, you know.
Right. I think you're being very hard on yourself because when I asked you about what happened, like why did you quit the cow so early?
Yes.
You said,
I was trying to protect a miss I thought would happen that wasn't going to happen when I watched the video back. I just, like, you know, but in that moment, I was trying to make a smart decision. I thought I had a lot going, and I only needed one judge to have a different opinion, so it was a close one.
Yeah, it comes back to that balance of like showing what yours can do, and then also trying to be smart about it.
Yes, right? Yes, and you know, we're constantly playing with that. So yeah, and during the semis, I try to be like, it's okay to mess up as long as we change it. But I always want to like identify, because I also had a little half miss right at the end, and I could easily blame, oh, well, my horse just kind of stumbled a little bit right there and got me a half miss. But if I want to be the best, what could I have done? I can't stop a stumble, but I can work my second cow a little longer. Yeah. To put myself in there deeper, that if I have a little stumble, then I'm still in. And that's kind of goes to the like I love, or I try to teach myself to be obsessed with, okay, we didn't do good, cool, why? You know, rather than feel sorry for yourself, why? You know, and because that'll just be, you know, what heightens my odds that the baby's run will work out.
Yeah, I think that's such a amazing tool to have as a professional athlete. At what point did you learn about that, and then how have you cultivated that to where it's just part of your process? Yeah. You know, like how do you expand your awareness to recognize, okay, these are negative thoughts, shift it, and this is, because you're right, we can choose to have pity on ourselves, or we can choose to be more positive. Yeah. But at what point in your career did that like come into your recognition?
I guess Alice probably taught me that, because she was super good about, she would pay my entries, and she would put me on nice horses and pay me to live my dream, basically. And she would do that all as long as I wasn't making excuses, you know? So she taught me that, like, yes, cutting has 100 variables, but you better enjoy when it doesn't work out, enjoy the process of learning why and how I'm gonna win next cutting. And And she really was big on that, and she would never let you just be like, oh, that was a tough cow. She'd be like, watch more cows. Get better at cow picking. If you're running into a lot of tough cows, watch more cows. And we all know cows will just smoke you. I've been just smoked, and that's okay. But she was hyper critical about that, and that was important for the development of because that turns every run into an educational run for next run.
Right.
And that'll get you, because if you're not in the winner's circle right away, you just want to get there as fast as you can. And that might take 10 years, that might take 2 months.
What were some of the biggest lessons that you learned? Because I know you're constantly seeking to improve. You're always, you have just like a curious mind, and you're trying to get better always. What would you say is something that stood out as like, oh man, this is the highlight, this was the aha moment this year?
Yeah.
What was that for you?
That I guess is a really good question, and I feel like there's been a couple aha moments when you've been overworking, and I'll be like working a horse, and I'll be like, holy shit, this is what a Don does, and I bet this horse I was just working feels just like what Red Dog looks like to me. And then another big one, another one of my favorite trainers to spy on and learn from is James Payne. And I feel like I had a big aha moment about his program and how that could benefit my program. And we called it Workhorse Works. And the way I got it from James was actually through Hayden, who's really tight with James, and was, really having James work with him with his program too this year. And Hayden would kind of tell me what James had been saying, and then I'd be spying on James in the practice pen, because whoops, he's accidentally showing everybody what he's doing. And why invent it if you can steal it? And then I come home and really put that to work, and I even had you and Travis turn back a little different, when I was wanting to have a workhorse work. And so I tried to mix some Adon, and I tried to mix some James into my deal this year, and I really like the feel of it, and I think my amateurs really like the feel of it, and it made everything a little more user friendly for everybody, and my catch riders really liked the feel of it, and so that was really exciting for me. That was my aha moment. Would be that little piece of Adon and that little piece of James that I got to add in there.
Right. $2.5 million lifetime earnings, NCHA Hall of Fame. You made it to another Futurity Finals, finished 8th this year. When you take a step back and you look at what you've accomplished, what is it that you're most proud of?
I guess I being good corner help, would be what I'm most proud of. What do I really get a kick out of, being like, oh, I'm busy all day because people need me to pick their cows, because that's what my friends need me to do. And I guess that's like horse trainer honor feel, because it's directly from your peers that you so respect and have been obsessed with since you were a kid. Lee Francois was the first big name guy I helped. Michael Cooper was the second, and to be that for them, because they're so that for me, I guess would totally be that's what gets me up every day. And
that's such an awesome answer, man.
That's what I feel. Yeah.
That's awesome. Is there anything else you want to say that I didn't bring up or mention?
Cool. Well, how'd it feel to undergo the pressures of being the morning turnback crew? All
you got
day
questions
during
for
the
me now.
fraternity, yeah. How did you mentally deal with that?
Yeah, I felt like being on a turnback crew during the Futurity, I feel like you need to not only be able to turn back, you need to have counseling skills.
Yes, 100%.
And be able to take verbal abuse.
Yes, absolutely.
And be able to be micromanaged.
Yes. But also make your own decisions.
And to be able to mind read.
Yes.
Yes. So if you can do those, you can turn back during the Futurity. No, it wasn't bad, honestly. It really wasn't bad.
No, of course not. I don't have a twitch. I'm fine. Go around the cow, but through the cow.
Back up or come forward.
Yes.
Come forward, now back up.
Which do you want me to do, Jesse? I don't know. Do something. Make noise, make less noise.
Yeah, y'all turn the music up, down, turn it off. No
Turn it
music.
off. No music. Yes. Is James Blunt on a loop?
James
Who put this on?
Yeah. Yeah, we need more Ian Tyson.
We need more Ian.
When in doubt, you play
When in
Ian
doubt.
Tyson.
Yep, rest in peace.
Yeah. That's a little fun fact most people don't know. Avril Lavigne is, in fact, Ian Tyson's granddaughter.
Is that real?
Yeah.
That's amazing. And
Both Canadians.
And he raised Justin Bieber. So Ian was the first guy to have the Bieber fever. People don't know that. And Paul Hansma.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. Man, Paul Hansma, you mentioned him in the interview. What a great guy, man. I love. Anytime I see that guy, I just smile, man.
Oh
Just
my
great.
goodness, yeah.
Man, we can wrap this thing out. I would like to say I truly appreciate you having us out throughout this series. It's been a blast, and I know it is one of y'all's most hectic times. So for you to have us out early in the mornings and to invade your space there at the Coliseum, we truly appreciate it. And congratulations again, man, finishing 8th with a 220.5.
Oh, thanks,
That's
buddy.
pretty
Well, I
sweet,
was
dude.
needing your turnback help, so I was needing to have you out either way. That just seemed like a more realistic way to get you every day. Because you did miss one horse, and I kind of had a meltdown. Mike, are you gonna kick rocks out there? Or are you gonna get on this turnback horse? Are you trying to get a divorce for me?
Yeah, Erica did step in for me, didn't she?
She did. She was like, get Mike back in here right now. This guy's a psychopath.
Oh, that's good stuff, man.
Awesome.
I don't think I have anything else, but I do feel like we'll be out here again and we'll be
Cool.
shooting some stuff throughout the year. I do want to track some 2-year-olds throughout the year and 3-year-olds this
Yeah.
year, so this won't be the end of Unveiling the Hustle.
Yeah,
So,
especially if we're covering 2-year-olds. We really got to
Really gotta hustle.
We really got to hustle.
right on, dude.
Oh, awesome, buddy.